Okay, multiplying, dividing. Just going over that rule again. When you're dividing, you change it to a multiply and use the reciprocal of the second one. Reciprocal just means we flip it upside down. Okay? Multiply fractions straight across, simplify if needed. All right, here's my friendly hint for this lesson. Do not multiply the factors through. We'll get to it in a second. Leave them as factors. It'll be easier to do NPVs, and then you're crossing out. When I talk about simplifying, I'm talking about the action of crossing out stuff. Okay, do you guys remember what the order was for simplifying expressions on Monday? What's step one? Factor everything. She's on chapter 5. So, step 1, factor everything. What's step 2? NPVs. Step 3, simplify, cross out, whatever you want to call it. So we are gonna keep that in our head. That's how we're gonna tackle anything that has X's on top and bottom. You're going to do this unit again in grade 12, but we're gonna spend a lot of time graphing it. I thought you were just really upset that we were gonna do this lesson again. Cash, do you have your notes? Okay, all right. Okay. Okay. What's step 1? Factor everything. So let's factor this one. Okay. This numerator. What are my factors? 4 and 3. Who's negative? Denominator, when I factor it, what's this one? It's a difference of squares, if that helps. 3 and 3. Does it matter what order I write these in? No, it does not. I'm changing my X to a dot just because sometimes X's can be misconstrued as variables. Okay, on the numerator here, what are my factors? 3 and 1. And what's happening here? I'm going to do a couple of things here. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to common factor out. I agree that this is a perfect square and that's a perfect square, but is A a perfect square?
It's just like a 1 times square.
Right, but it's A. What two factors, right? So that makes it. So I'm going to common factor out an A. And the thing that caused us the problem was that single A right there. It would have been a difference of squares if it was A squared minus 4. Like those are, it looks like it is 1, but it's not because of that single A. Okay, so step 1 was factor everything. I was successful in doing that. What's step 2? NPVs. Okay, so A cannot equal. Let's just list them. Let's go through. What can this one be?
Plus.
That one's negative 3. That one is positive 3, so I'm going to write plus minus 3. What's this one?
4. Oh, yeah.
Remember when it's a monomial? Like when it's only a single term by itself, it's always going to be 0. And then this one here. Positive 4.
Where did you get the 0 from?
the single A.
Isn't that a whole, like, one? Like,
It's a monomial. It's a single term. Yeah.
so we still solve for the other four.
Yes. Yeah, because this is a term, or sorry, this is a factor, and this is a factor. Those two things, and remember how we didn't solve it for the 2? But this one is a letter. It's a variable, so we have to solve it. Anytime we have a monomial, it's always going to be 0. Okay. Now, multiplying. This is where I say don't multiply things through. Don't actually go multiply that back. That'll get to there. Multiply this back. And then you're multiplying these two things together, and that's just going to be terribly ugly. Ouch. Ouch. She makes one comment and she's kicked out. So I really just didn't even do anything. I don't even really need this step. I could have done this question from this one here. It's pretty straightforward. All I did was put all the things on the numerator together, all the things on the denominator. So I did factoring, I did MPVs. What's my next thing? We're going to cancel stuff out. We're going to simplify stuff. Okay, so they have to be exactly the same. So a plus 3, and we're canceling out top and bottom. We're not canceling out on the same level. It has to be top and bottom because anything divided by itself is 1. And then a minus 3s are gone. And then a minus 4 is gone. And what am I left with?
A minus 1 divided by A.
Okay, if any of you cross out those A's, you've just killed a kitten. Okay, don't do that. Because that A has to go into here and into here. Like it has... Pardon?
Will it just not be -1 over?
It would be a positive 1 minus 1 over A if you simplified it.
We have.
Absolutely not. This to me looks way nicer. So that A has to go into both terms on the top. So if you cancel those out, you are incorrect. It's one of the most common mistakes that students make. That's the only reason why I'm harping on it. Okay. Everybody good with that one? Yes. Multiplying's pretty easy. Okay, we had a bunch of binomials here. No, we got a bunch of monomials here. Not terrible. Not terrible. Step 1, factor everything. Everything is listed in its factors. It might help you to just remember that that is like a set. It's in brackets together. So now we're going to do our NPVs. So I've got a couple of things here, but I'm looking at the denominator only. Denominator only. What are my variables in the denominator? R and D. So when I look at R, is R a monomial or is it in a binomial situation? Monomial. So what can R not equal?
0.
Okay, so I'm done with that one. Now I'm going to go over to D. What can D not equal?
2.
Positive 2. So in this case, we had to list multiple variables. In the first one, we just had the A. All right, now we're going to cancel stuff out. What's going to cancel out?
2.
2's are gone. What else is going to cancel out?
Pies.
Pi's gone. R's gone. Is anybody going to say D?
No.
No one's going to say D. Because that set on the bottom is a binomial, you cannot cancel out these D's. So I'm left with DH over D minus 2, where R cannot equal 0 and D cannot equal 2. And that's my final answer.
Do we have to write the thing at the end?
This?
Yeah.
If you have them clearly labeled, that's okay. But just know that the answer key that you're probably going to look at is going to look more like this. Okay? I'm more like, if you can read it, I'm good with that. But these need to be clearly labeled that these are your NPVs. Whoa. Genetics.
Look at this one, it's so long.
His hair's probably all that long.
Yeah, but one of them is
And now he doesn't have it. Look what you've done, Boomy. You've taken his hair away.
a baby from where did
Okay. Step 1, factor everything. Please go ahead and factor. I'm going to pause my screen, and you guys are going to factor this one. Factor.
eraser. Factoring. 6 and 1.
Yeah. Okay. Did you get those factors? If you're still factoring, keep factoring. If you weren't sure what to do, take a look at. So you see how like that grade 10 stuff is really important to be able to do it kind of quickly. If you still need a scrap piece of paper to do your factoring on, please feel free to do that. Like if you are not to the point where this makes sense, you need to practice your factoring, please do all the steps on a second piece of paper. Okay, so I factored everything. So what's my next thing? And not yet. So factor everything, and then we do our NPVs. So C cannot equal plus minus 7, because that's those two right there. And that's -7. But what's this guy? 0. So if you feel comfortable with that, if you feel comfortable solving like that, it's so much easier when you just look at them and you can solve them in your head. Again, if you don't feel comfortable with that, put them on a page, set each factor equal to 0, add, subtract, do whatever you need to do. Okay, so sometimes it's helpful before you do the flip to simplify inside the term. Is there stuff I can simplify in the red one? We can take that C. Now, if you don't do it, that's okay. You'll do it in the next step. Like you're going to eventually do it anyway. It's just what step are you doing it at? So we're going to cancel this out and we're going to cancel that out. Okay, in the blue/purple circle, is there anything I can cancel out? Okay, so please note that I'm keeping them like separated by the division sign. I'm just separating within that set. Okay, so now I've got C plus 1 divided by C plus 7. We're changing to a multiply. What do we do to the second one? Flip it. So now it's C over C plus 1. You have a new denominator. You showed up with a new denominator. It was never on the bottom before. Now it's a new denominator. You have to do your NPV again. So what am I just adding to it? I'm adding that new denominator to it. So what am I adding to the list of numbers? -1. So just up here, C cannot equal -1. I'm just rewriting C because I've run out of room. So we're just adding that to the list. We're not doing anything with this one because we've already done it. We've already done it up here. This is the new guy, so he gets added to the list. Okay. So I've done my MPVs. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify because it's easy peasy. Those cancel each other out. And I'm left with C over C plus 7, where well, that's a C plus 1 and that's a C plus 1. We good?
Yeah.
You know, okay. So C cannot equal plus minus 7, 0, and negative 1. So again, nothing that we've done here is super hard, but there's so many steps and there's little places that things can go wrong. Do you guys think this is easier than chapter 5? Nice. Okay. What? What? Chapter 5 is radical. I love it. You've blocked it out. You wrote the test yesterday.
Yeah, my mind like blocks the bad memories away.
Fair?
And I was fried during the exam.
Fair? Okay. What's step 1? Factor everything. So that numerator right here, we're going to be common factoring out a 3. So you're going to be doing like, these ones are pretty straightforward, but it's like remembering to common factor that's going to be the challenge. When I look at this one right here, I can take a 3 out of 12 and I can take a 3 out of 3, but I can't take a 3 out of 5. So I got to do some complex factoring. I'm probably going to do that on a second piece of paper.
So 12 times 3.
9 and 4? Oops, sorry. I'm writing it in. So it's going to be minus 9, positive 4, right? Because we want it to be a negative 5. And again, this is back to your grade 10 stuff. Hugely important, but if you don't practice it, it's easy not to do it. What am I going to common factor out of the first two?
3 and X.
3 and X. So I'm left with X minus 3. What am I going to common factor out of the last two?
4
What kind of 4?
plus.
Positive 4.
So now we love this.
And I know that I've done it right if these two things are the exact same. So my factors are 3x plus 4 and x minus 3. Okay. Can I factor anything in that second one there? 12 is 12. And then I got 3x plus 4. I like to put brackets around it just to remind myself that that's like a set. Like that's a binomial together. I want to make sure they travel together. And then we're timesing by. What can I do to that numerator?
Take out a 2.
Take out a 2. Common factor out a 2. Again, I'm going to put those brackets around the x plus 4 just to remind myself. So I have factored everything. Everything I've factored. So what's my next step? NPVs. So let's go through. X cannot equal
Negative 4.
-4/3. See how fractions are helpful here? I don't want to put that into my calculator and get -1.3 repeating. Just going to leave it as a fraction. I'm going to walk away. I can do that in my head. What about this one? +3. This one's the -4/3 again. I don't need to rewrite it. It's already listed. And then this one's going to be -4. Okay. Quick question. Quick question. How would you guys tackle multiplying that? Okay, so you're going 15 times 2 because that's really easy. And then I'm going to times that by 3. And what do I get? Hopefully you get 90, but 60 is kind of close.
9 times 3.
3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9.
Oh my.
It's okay. It's okay. What else could I have done? I probably would have had to pull out a calculator to do this one,
Yeah.
right? I could have done 15 times 3, that's 45. 45 times 2, also 90, right? So when you're dealing with 3 things that you have to multiply, usually you take and deal with the first 2, get the answer for that, and then multiply by the last one. So that's how we're going to tackle it here. We're going to look at these 2 things first. We're going to look at these 2 things first. So that's going to be, keep the first one, 3x plus 4 over 3x plus 4 over x minus 3 multiplied by, yeah, you got a quiz on Monday on this.
What?
Yeah,
Why?
because it's super
You
fun.
want to do a test. You want to do a quiz. What am I going to do?
Both of them? Okay. Now I have to forewarn you, you need to write the third item. We're not going to be using it right now. We're not going to be looking at it right now, but you still need to write it because the equation has to be, each line has to be equivalent. Okay, I flipped this, so now I'm looking for my new non-permissible value. Did I add to my non-permissible value list?
No.
How come? There's no x. There's no variable. So I didn't add to my non-permissible value list. But anytime we flip it, we have to check for a new non-permissible value. Okay, now you're just going to look at these 2. What are you going to do?
3x plus 4.
3x plus 4. Gone. What else can I do? Can I reduce?
3 and 12.
3 and 12. Can I reduce this fraction? What's it going to be?
4.
So 1, and then 4 is going to stay on the bottom. Everybody good with that? Okay. Wait.
Why did you put the 4 in front of x minus 3?
I didn't have to. In multiplying, it doesn't matter what order you do them in. So I just moved my 4 because it's a single one to the front.
Could you just keep it as a separate? Does it go?
Could you keep it as a separate, or do you want to keep it in the back?
Could you just do like that first set times 4 times the second, like,
I mean, you don't have to.
But it would be 1 over 4.
Yeah.
Because where does your 4 live? It's living in the denominator. So you totally could do that it's 1 over 4, but just remember that it's a 1 over 4, not 4.
Wait, so if I put it in the front, I know that it's going inside x and 3 in future. But if I just leave my 4 in the back, does it still go inside both?
Yeah. You just leave frog backwards.
Okay. That's what we.
hmm
Okay.
could you put 4 in front of x plus 4 at the end in each, or did it have to be
Here or here? Here? No, you can totally put it here, but we were just looking at these 2 things, so I was,
it would have been the same, that would be interesting.
yeah, as long as it's in the denominator. Okay? All right, now what do I do?
2 and 4 divide.
2 and 4 divide, so there's a 2 on the bottom now and a 1 on the top. X minus 3's and x minus 4's are gone, so I am left with 1 over 2. Now, I will tell you, lots of people don't put that 1 up there, so they give me an answer of 2, which would be incorrect, because the 2 is living on the bottom floor, it's living in the denominator, so it has to stay in the denominator. So if you have nothing left up top, it's always that invisible 1. And we state that x cannot equal negative 4 over 3 3, and -4, and you're like, but there's no x's, and that is a true statement.
Interesting.
Interesting. Feel smarter.